sprinkles, Santa Claus's special elf. Because everything is special with sprinkles. Santa Claus knows you're special too, and he has something to say to you. So listen close as Santa Claus shares holiday cheer with you. You can leave a special message for Santa Claus and get on the nice list at www.santaclaussays.net. Now here is the big man himself, Santa Claus!
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas to boys and girls all around the world of every place and every situation in life. I come to say to you that Santa Claus says, be good for goodness sakes. And we welcome you here to Santa Claus Says.net, the show here on YouTube and on podcast, where we offer a good word to your life during the Christmas season between now and Christmas Day. And we offer you three things. We give you a dose of Christmas cheer. Yeah, our elf sprinkles helps us to do that. We like to tell Christmas jokes. We tell a wonderful Christmas story is the second thing that we do, which is where we have a great story we're finishing up today about the rocking chair pony, the rocking horse pony who wanted to have blue eyes. And then the third thing we do is we hear a letter to Santa. We want to remind you that you can always reach out to me and send me a letter either by text or a email or even a voicemail through santaclaussays.net. And that's how you can reach out to me. Also, we have our live show every night between now and Christmas Eve at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time at YouTube. And that's at youtube.com/Santa Claus Says. Well, here for our Christmas cheer today, let's just share with you a couple of jokes that you might want to take to heart and share with somebody. Why was the toy afraid to play with the other toys on Christmas Eve? Because it didn't want to be left on the shelf. How does Rudolph know when Christmas is coming? He checks his dearie calendar. What do you call an elf who tells bad dad jokes? A Christmas comedian. There are some jokes for you to tell to other people, boys and girls, and have some fun with that. There's our Glockenspiel, which means it's time for our story time, boys and girls. And so let's have our story time. And we're completing our story today about the rocking chair horse who wanted to have blue eyes instead of brown eyes. And if you missed the first two parts of this story, go back and listen to the first two parts of the story at episodes number 1 and 2 of this season 3 of Santa Claus Says, and you'll get that there, and we'll have you'll be able to keep up. Remember, we tell all kinds of wonderful Christmas stories here during the Christmas season. This is a story about a rock at Santa's workshop where all the elves of different names and situations were working all the toys. And this one particular toy, a rocking chair horse, had brown eyes, but didn't want the brown eyes. He wanted blue eyes. And there is quite a commotion going on when the rocking chair horse is running away and trying to get away from the elves who are trying to put the brown eyes back on him. Let's complete the story here, and here's how it goes. It goes, the race was on after the rocking chair horse, and he seemed fairly to skim over the ground, and behind him, blown by the wind and carried by his own swift little feet, came the elves, chasing after him, every one. For Sweet Tooth and Krusty, they joined him, and they were running quite as fast as anyone else. The rocking horse pony seemed to know where he wanted to go. On and on he rocked over the ice and snow. Smoke was pouring from the hole in the top of each hut, and this smoke and the wind caught and floated through the air. The boys and girls, bundled in warm coats, ran out of their huts, their dogs barking at their heels, and they all, children and dogs, stared in amazement at the galloping rocking horse pony, who was followed so closely by the group of elves, laughing and shouting and waving their arms as they sped by. Then they were in a forest of evergreen trees, tall and thick and green, and the rocking horse pony and the elves found themselves racing through a dense little wood. I know where he is going, shouted Nimbletoes, who with elves Fleetfoot was running well in the lead. I believe he is going to Mr. Mendham's house. The news was passed on the line until the last one of the procession, little old Krusty, heard the tidings. He's going to Mr. Mendham's, and that's what we all believe. Soon the elves set up another shout. There is Mr. Mendham's house. We are right. Sharp Eyes Pony is going to Mr. Mendham's house. Between two tall trees before them there stood a little house, a little white house with a bright red chimney, green window boxes, and a green front door. And over the door hung a sign that said, Mr. Mendham, toy maker. The elves saw the rocking horse pony take the knocker on the green front door in his mouth and rap smartly. Tap, 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 tap. There was no answer. So the rocking horse pony gently pushed the door open and looked inside and rocked inside. The door shut behind him with a thump. Thump. Now, behind the house, busily hanging out a basket full of clothes, were Mr. and Mrs. Mendham. They saw the elves and came running forward, and when they heard about the rocking horse pony, they crept to the house on tippy toes, followed by the elves to see what the pony was doing now. There he was in Mr. Mendham's workroom, rocking round and round, looking for something with all his might and main. He looked high, he looked low, and he even looked in the corners and on the floor. But at last he gave up the search and stood in the middle of the room, and the elves and Mr. Mendham saw that the tears were rolling down his little brown face. He looked as if his heart was broken. What was the matter with Rocking Horse Pony? The mended toys in the workroom were trying to help the little brown pony. I know, Mr. Mendham keeps his eyes in that basket over there, said a black and white dog with a bright red tongue. But as you can see, he hasn't a blue eye left, not one. He put his last blue eyes in my head, said a big white furry kitten, who had a golden bell tied around his neck. For my part, I don't like blue eyes. I prefer green. They shine so well in the dark. If Mr. Mendham will give me green eyes, then you may have my blue. At this kind offer, all the toys began to call out, Mr. Mendham, Mr. Mendham! So Mr. Mendham and the elves trooped into the room. Why didn't you tell me you wanted blue eyes? Asked Sharp Eyes as he wiped the tear from the little pony's face. Of course you shall have them if Mr. Mendham is willing to make the change. Certainly, certainly, agreed Mr. Mendham, who was a kind-hearted man. Green eyes always look well on a cat, and there is no reason why this pony shouldn't have blue eyes, though I will say I never gave them to a rocking horse before. Blue eyes are so beautiful, murmured the rocking horse pony. I couldn't bear to think of starting out next Christmas Eve with brown eyes in my head. So Mr. Mendham made the change in a twinkling. The white cat was more satisfied with his new green eyes. They have a fine sparkle and gleam, he purred, with a proud wave of his tail. Blue eyes are too girlish for me. And the rocking horse pony was happier than words can tell. He smiled and he rocked and he bumped around in a very ecstasy of joy. When the time came, he rocked home with Sharp Eyes on his back in a very whirl of pleasure. Blue eyes, he sang to himself as he bumped through the snow. When Sharp Eyes showed the pony to Santa Claus, he told him what had happened. And Santa Claus laughed and he laughed and he laughed, and he rubbed the rocking horse pony upon his soft brown nose. I know a little boy who likes blue eyes, the very best of all, said Santa Claus, and you shall go live with him next Christmas, if you wish. When he heard this, the rocking horse pony was so happy, he thought his heart would burst with joy. So if next Christmas you meet a little boy who has a rocking horse pony with bright blue eyes, You may know that the pony was made by Elf Sharp Eyes, and that he came down on Christmas Eve in Santa Claus's sleigh, straight from the Snow Palace to the very tippy top of the North Pole. And that's the end of the story about the pony who loved green eyes. We tell lots of wonderful stories here at Santa Claus Says, so I want to invite you to tune in again on our next episode as we begin another wonderful story for the Christmas season. Well, there is our Glockenspiel, which is our notification, which lets us know it's time to move on now to our letter to Santa. And our letter to Santa comes from Cassidy, who, in her letter to me, said, "Hi, Santa, it's Cassidy." She wanted me to know who she was. And so, Cassidy, I see you, and I hear you, and I know you, and I know that you are on the nice list, not on the naughty list. We don't want that. And I want you, all the children of the world, to know that Santa Claus hears you and sees you, and I know you by your name. I love you and I care for you because you are what makes this world a wonderful place. Every smile you have, every twinkle you have is a wonderful thing for Santa Claus to experience. And I see you and I hear you, and you are on the nice list. And I want you to reach out to me here and let me know what is on your mind. You can tell me, like Cassidy did, tell me her name, and also, but you can tell me some good thing you did, or tell me about your pets, or about your mom or your dad, or about some food you like, or about your Christmas wish list. I will listen to all these things. You just reach out to me through my website, which is SantaClausSays.net, and that's where you can leave me a voicemail, or an email, or even a text message, and I will respond to you because I hear you and I see you and I love you. Well, that's what we have here for today. Well, boys and girls, that about brings us to the close of this episode of Santa Claus Says. We love you, and we'll see you next time here. Please know that we look forward to being with you every night live here at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube. You go to youtube.com/Santa Claus Says, and you can find me there, and you can find me on Apple Podcasts and all the podcasts every day during the Christmas season. And we conclude our Christmas season on Christmas Eve with our special live cast when we read the Christmas story the night before Christmas. And then we have our final episode will be on Christmas Day when we read about the very first Christmas from the Bible, the story of the birth of Jesus. That's it for now, boys and girls. We'll see you next time here on Santa Claus Says. Remember, until next time, that Santa Claus says, be good for goodness sakes. Goodbye. Merry Christmas.
You're special to Santa Claus, just like sprinkles. Get on Santa's nice list at SantaClausSays.net and watch Santa Claus Says live on YouTube. Tell him Sprinkles sent you.